Welcome back to the Doug and Pat Show. We were just having some fun with that, although it's a serious thing.
It's a serious thing.
Serious thing.
Right.
And Pat and I actually have been self-quarantined because nobody wants to really have anything to do with this anyway. So that works out really, actually pretty well for us. You okay over there?
Mhm.
It's nice how they cut out that part right there for your pipe. We are here to talk about something that's very dear to us, but may not be as dear to you, and that's going to be Les Pauls. We're talking about the standards. Even though they only started calling them standards in '59, we're going to call them the standards because that, we're not talking about customs and all that. Let's take a look at these catalogs for a second. This is the page that has the Les Paul standard. As we can see, it's now the Sunburst finish, burst. This is the front of the catalog as to what it looks like. However, on the back, it says that this is actually not a '59 catalog. This says this is actually a May of 1960 catalog, which is kind of interesting because if we look at the 1959 catalog, which the cover of it looks like this, and then we flip it over, we see that we have a Flying V and we have a 335. They give the date on this catalog as March 1959. The 335 came out in 1958, as did the Flying V. By 1959, this Flying V was all but discontinued, so that was kind of a strange thing that Gibson did with their catalogs they were behind. But not as strange as this one. We look at the Les Paul. This is a '59 catalog. It's called the Les Paul guitar. That guitar is 56. In '57, they changed the humbuckings, but here's the description that they have on here. 2 powerful humbucking pickups. So Gibson were not really paying a whole bunch of detail when they came to their catalogs and advertising their stuff, which is another kind of fun thing. Les Pauls, we're talking about the standards, and specifically about how they compare to newer guitars that are supposed to be reissues or, in this case, clones of these guitars. Serious business here because we think that Doug and Pat need to take a look at this critically. And what we're going to do is we have 2 guitars brought to us by Nate of Black Book Music. He's a vintage guitar dealer.
Yep.
Yeah. Great store. And he brought us 2 Les Pauls. One of them is a relatively new one. That's with the new company. It's a 2019 R9, but it's custom somehow. It has a certificate with it and all that. The other one is a Murphy Age 2013. It has a Bigsby on it, and it's also custom shop guitar. It was very high end at some point in time.
Oh, yeah.
That's from the company that just got bought out. They went bankrupt or something like that.
Yeah.
Interesting because both of these guitars are pretty nice, and they're supposed to go after these guitars that we have right here. This one being a very early 1960 Les Paul standard, known as a burst, I guess nowadays, called Jayne, and this one is a '58 gold top with humbuckings called Oscar. What we're going to do is we're going to actually get in a detailed thing of analyzing the difference between the new guitars that say that they're this guitar. That is, they actually use, as you can see on your screen, the word clone on that 2019. Is it a clone? How many original Sunburst finish Les Paul standards were there made between '58 and '60 approximately?
Depends on who you believe.
How many, let's say if you went with the production records?
1,500,
16, something like that.
Yeah.
And the joke is, of course, and out of those, there's only 2,500 of them left.
Yeah.
It's because that people are making actually clones of these guitars that are so good that people who own them can't tell the difference and buy them because they're really worth quite a bit of money. Gibson, on their 2019, says that this guitar is a clone. So we are going to look at it in detail. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with the headstock, and we're going to work our way down. We're going to analyze the headstock, truss rod cover, the plastics, the silk screening, pitch of the neck, We're going to get into the fingerboard. We're going to get into the way it's dressed away, get into the body. Very critical thing, not only with us, but with a lot of people who are into vintage guitars. And that's going to be the carve of the top. We're going to get into the weight of the guitar. And finally, we're going to get into the sound of the guitar. This show is called For the Cork Sniffers. Why is that? So Cork Sniffers, they use that for wine guys, right? When you're
really?
Yeah. Well, you pop the cork out.
Yeah.
And then you sniff the cork to be able to tell the quality of the wine, if the cork is dried out and all that stuff.
Okay.
For people who don't drink wine, that seems like a stupid thing to do. But for people who are really, really into it, it's one of the things they do.
Huh.
We are going to be doing this for the people in the guitar world that are the cork sniffers, because we're Doug and Pat, and this is what we do. If you're not really like a cork sniffer sort of a dude, and you're not really into this, then let's start on the headstock. So one of the things that we noticed on that is we put the headstock up, as you can see in the pictures, up against the 2019 R9 and the Murphy Aged. And what we're looking at is we're looking for the way that the Gibson logo is set into the guitar. We're looking for the silk screening of where it says Les Paul model. We're looking for the thickness of the neck joint where it meets the neck and the headstock together. We're looking at the plastic, which is the truss rod cover, and the tuners. So this may be very, very esoteric for some people, but the fact is that if it's a clone and let's say you're trying to pass it off as a clone, you hand this guitar to somebody who knows what they're talking about. How close can one of these R9s, the 2019, come to fooling somebody? That would actually be a clone. That would be dead on. One of the first things we see is that on the 2019 is that the silk screen is not even close. It's really fat. It's not as bad as that one that your grandkid scrawled on Gibson. Yeah, that was pretty sad. Here's a picture from a 56 Special and one from a 56 Junior. And you can see that they're pretty consistent as to the silk screen. It's kind of light, and they haven't been rubbed off. This was the way that they were. When you take a look at it on the Murphy Aged 2013, you see it's much closer, much closer. You made some observations about the inset Gibson Mother of Pearl logo that you were seeing.
Yeah.
What did you see on that?
Well, the new ones seemed the Gibson logo came in all one big block, and as opposed to the old ones that they, like the dot, for instance, on a lot of these is above the top part of the B, where all the new ones seem to be even with it or lower than.
Was the dot all part of the one piece of the new one?
Yes,
because this one definitely is not on this.
On the new one, it was all part of that, and there's other subtle little differences, and people see throughout the years. Is the O on the Gibson part closed or open
relative to the year,
exactly
where it is on the headstock.
Yeah.
In the case of if we're going after a 59, it would be just like this guitar, or should be exactly like this guitar.
Yeah.
How about the holly veneer that we can see clearly on this guitar that goes around the perimeter? That's what they put the facing on, right, over the mahogany. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you can see the holly veneer in these pictures going around this original guitar. You can see a little bit of it in the 2019, but it seems to disappear. I don't know. And same with the Murphy.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem to be because of the paint.
No,
I mean it is not as thick or just not there.
Yeah, because the paint doesn't go around the edge on the 2019, and it doesn't go around the edge on this guitar either. The truss rod cover. On some of these truss rod covers, they have little wavy marks in them that are like what they call the extrusion thing as they were making the plastic. I don't know if they were gone by 59. You can really see it on Oscar, the 58. You can't see it hardly at all on this one, which is an early 60. And you could see it, so probably earlier on, you'd be looking at that. The neck joint is definitely thinner on the original guitar. Now, it's not that it's better or worse, because having a thicker one's probably not a bad idea. But that's not the way this guitar was built. This guitar was built.
And if you were a clone.
If you're a clone and you're handing this to somebody who owns Sunburst Les Pauls from the 50s, they would know the difference in that.
That's like cloning a sheep
Ah.
and having one with the clone is the head of it's 3 times bigger.
It's not really a clone.
Is that really
is
a clone? It isn't.
No.
It isn't. Or if it's got a horse head on the sheep.
That would, yeah.
Well, that's what
That-
they did in The Godfather, isn't it?
Yeah, they had a horse head on a sheep.
Something like that.
Something like that. The neck. This is a big deal. Number one, the original had a Brazilian rosewood fretboard. I don't know. I'm just going out on the limb here. I don't know if that makes a difference in the way that it sounds. It makes a difference in the way it looks. And, there's endless discussions about that. But the way the binding is on the neck, it has been dressed away at the factory so that it actually smooths around. Now on the 2019, you see that this is not the case compared to the original guitar. And you also see this, here's a picture of a 56 Special, where also it's dressed away. You can see that's the way it came from the factory. The 2013 Murphy Aged is dressed away like that. Much better. It feels different, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, they call it rolled into the fingerboard.
Right.
And so playing-wise, yeah, it's a lot better, I think.
It feels vintage
Oh,
when
yeah.
you pick it up
Yeah.
and you go, oh yeah, I get that. You don't really know why, but that's the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
The plastics, overall on the plastics of them, as we can see on this guitar, on the 60, there's a difference slight in color between the pickup rings and the pick guard. This actually, I think, happened a number of times over the years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
How about like on P90 guitars?
Yeah.
Same deal.
Yeah.
It appears to be the case on the Murphy Aged one, where it's a slight difference in color. Don't know why, but there definitely is. So the plastics overall look pretty good. The knobs on the 2019 look like the original knobs. They do a pretty good job. Oddly enough, the ones on the Murphy Aged one have 3 little support pieces inside of the knob.
Yeah.
And I've never actually seen that before. It probably makes the knob stronger or something, but who cares?
That's how they tooled it, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, the tailpiece and the ABR1 are aged out. I don't know if they're making the new ones so that they will age out like that or not. Overall, they look pretty good.
Are the saddles on the new ones brass?
I don't know. You can't see them. I don't know. We'll have to look into that. Guess we'll have to.
Maybe you know and can let us know.
Yeah. In like a 2019, the way they're making them now in ABR1, are they brass, or in the case of the older one? All right, now we're going to move into the big fun, the top. We are absolute maniacs about these tops, and we don't feel that Gibson's ever got the top right, and we don't think they got the top right on this one. Let's take a look at a number of pictures. We're going to take a look at pictures of some of these guitars that Pat took out in his backyard. Did you leave them there overnight, or did you remember to bring them in?
No, I left them out because hauling those things in and out of the house.
It takes forever.
Yeah, it does.
Throw your back out.
Yeah, it does mine.
But we can see the way that the top looks in these different reflections in the lower bout and how it dishes up, how it comes off the top and dishes out. You can see it all the way around the guitar in the lower bout, how it dishes out. Both of these guitars, the 2013 and 2019, do a pretty good job of that. But when you get up into this upper bout up here, that goes away, and they've never, ever got this right. On the originals, it dishes, that is, it goes down and back up on the upper bout and on the horn, the same way it does on the lower part of it. The history of this is actually pretty interesting. All of the vintage guitars from the 52 through this one have this pretty much this same dish on it. It's very exaggerated. It's really cool. And you can see people when they're holding these original guitars have it just has that look to it. When they came out with the Les Paul the second time in 1968, they made a gold top with P90s. Basically, it looked like a 56.
Right.
And they made a Les Paul custom. There's some pictures of that 68. It looks pretty good. The dishing on it looks pretty good. It didn't take long for them to screw that one up. This is a 72, and you can see now, this is now a deluxe, and you can see that dishing is now starting to go away. And by the time that we get to about 74, 75, as we can see in this picture, that dishing is gone.
Completely.
It looks like a blob that they put on
Yep.
there, doesn't it?
Yep.
We were selling these guitars, or I was selling new guitars back then, and explaining to the Gibson guys about that. Not only just the sandwich body, three-piece neck, volute on the back, but the fact they didn't have the dish anymore, and they were just going, well, nobody cares about that. And I'm going, well, I don't know, maybe they don't, but I do. And it certainly wasn't a clone. Let's flip it over. What did you notice about the toggle switch plate?
Well, just the screw alignment on the old ones are kind of just everywhere, as opposed to all the new ones seem to be, when they were drilled out, the screw is up here and then two down below here. Basically direct opposite of what it is on here. The old ones seem to be kind of random, like they put the little thing there and the plate there and then the screw holes afterward.
Probably did.
Probably.
They were just
where the new
put
ones
them
seem to be
together.
all just kind of, stamped in there and done.
How about this neck heel? Thing we can see pretty clearly is that the neck heel, right in this little thing right here, is larger on the old guitar than it is on the clone guitar.
Yep.
Don't know why. The control cavity looks pretty close. It's got some of the cutaways in it. Since we can't see it because it has a plate on it, it probably doesn't really particularly matter. The thing we have to remember about the Les Pauls that were being made in 59 and 60 is that these guitars were already a dead man walking. They already had the SG planned out. They were making guitars just to finish them up because they weren't selling. Hence, that's why there's only 3,000 of the original Sunburst ones left out of the original 1,500 made.
Mm-hmm.
Something else about these guitars is the weight of them, which we also checked out. So the weight of this guitar, Jayne, is 8.33 pounds. The Murphy-aged one is heavier than that, 8.86, and the 2019, 8.22. So that's ballpark.
Yeah.
Under 9 pounds is good. Let's talk about the sound. And here's kind of a thing that maybe some people are going to get upset about. I don't think it matters.
Not today, it doesn't.
Why not? Does it matter to you?
Yes.
The reason that we don't really think it matters on these new guitars is a number of different things.
But I'm old.
Yeah,
And a lot of things matter to me that probably don't matter to a lot of the younger guys.
good point.
And, it's just the way it is, man. I'm sorry.
We come from a different time,
Yes.
and we'll
Kinda
get
like
into that. I think
Alien?
actually we might even do a little bit of a segue on Patrick on that one, right about this point in time, but not right now, but when I'm editing it. The reason that we don't think it matters, number one, you can change the way that the guitar sounds by changing the pickups. I know. Well, I shouldn't have to spend $8,000 on a guitar, $5,000 on a guitar, and change the way it sounds. But you can, and we will show in a little bit what that can do, as if we haven't been doing that for 7 or 8 years. let's talk about why people, if they're in a financial position to do it, what criteria they use to buy old ones. Let's say a guy like you, and let's say you have $250,000, which you do, of course. Isn't that what's in that bag over there? Okay.
No, that, yeah.
Yeah. And you were going to go to somebody's house, like a guy named Dirk, and he had 10 58, 59, 60 sunburst finish Les Pauls, original ones, for sale. And you get to choose which one you want, and you can only afford to buy one. Yep. What do you think the main reason that you would buy one of those is? No, I can't say you, because you might have a different reason. What do you think the main reason that somebody would choose one over another? What do you think the main reason of that would be?
The finish, the top.
I think
curl
so.
of the wood,
I think so. I think the curl of the wood.
the cosmetic stuff.
I think a guitar that has a real curly top is worth more money than a guitar that has a plain top.
Yeah.
I also think it would probably be the color, maybe. Probably a little bit of color. Like, let's say if we're using Pearly Gates as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful curly top, or any of the guitars in Beauty of the Burst, right? I think also the condition,
Right.
the originality, big deal, because it's a vintage guitar. The provenance, which is the history of the guitar. Where did it come from? Who owned it originally? Who bought it? What's the story behind this guitar? Bonamassa is really into that now.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to get the guitar from the original owner. He wants to see the picture of when the guy was playing the guitar, when he was a kid, or when he bought it new in '59. All that stuff adds to the value of the guitar, and I think that that's what collectors are looking for.
Right.
Here's the last thing I think that they're looking for: the way they sound. I think there's an acceptance that these guitars all sound fantastic, even though when you go on YouTube or any of the whatever the video things would be, and you see people that actually have them, it's almost a little like Spinal Tap, where like they have a case and they're going, "Can you hear the sustain?"
Yeah.
Right, and they're not even playing it; they're just holy grailing the whole thing, and then they plug them into pedals to really show you how great they are.
Well, if you spend $400,000 on a guitar, it's going to sound fantastic, and it's going to make you a whole lot better player.
That's a done deal.
Yeah.
If you spend $450, guarantee, comes with a little plaque that says guarantee that.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 1960 Les Paul known as Jayne. She's a beauty. PAFs, of course, stock guitar. The jacks are wearing out, the pots are wearing out. But when it's refinished with a new neck on it, it's going to be so great. I'm thinking about, what do you think about it?
I like that fret job I did.
It's good. It's good.
My
Awful
first.
lot. We put the little chip right there in the.
It's my first.
This is the Vox AC10 Super Reverb twin neck pickup. Bring it up a little more. It's got that nice click going on up there, doesn't it? Well, there you go. So, what do you think?
Nice guitars. Surprisingly nice guitars.
They sounded pretty good, didn't they?
Close.
I was actually surprised that they actually sounded as good as they did.
Well,
Comparing them to the original guitars, because we are just running them just directly into an amplifier with no pedal effects, which we still feel that you have to do to be objective about stuff. You can't run it into a pedal effect if it's going to take away the mojo, if you will.
Have you ever taken a drink of your tea and put your eye out?
I don't have to. I can watch you do it. If you do it again, I'll put it in slow motion.
Okay, back to the point. I do like that shirt.
It's nice.
Wish I could.
Wish you could buy one?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later.
And let me know where I can get one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll talk about that later too.
Okay.
Yeah, so they sounded good. The thing about it, don't you think, Pat, is that when we started our show, is that we were talking about the promise of guitar pickup makers making a pickup that would make your newer guitar sound like an original 58, 59, 60 Sunburst Les Paul or a humbucking guitar. Isn't that right?
Right. Right.
And the premise that we attached to all this was, how would you know that it sounds like one of those if you don't have one of those? The only way you would do it is you would have to listen to recordings of people playing them, right?
Yes.
And that's a different thing. It's a different thing
It's a
even
whole
on our
different
own
ballgame.
show.
Yep.
It's not the same as you having one, taking it to your house, plugging it into your amplifier, and hearing what it sounds like and being able to compare that. Yet, the promise is being made that it will sound like that, and we take issue with that. And so this is kind of the culmination, I guess you'd say, of where we started and coming back around in the case of these Les Pauls, is that we take issue if you're promising that this is actually is a dead-on again.
Yeah. Clone.
Dead on, and not with a sheep head that's 3 times as big as a sheep, or with a horse's head on it, but a clone, and it's not a clone. But they sound good. So what's important to you? Is that's an important thing. What's
Right.
important to you? And if the sound is important to you, how do you know the sound when you hear it? What do you base that on? Kind of the basic sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Let's touch bases on that thing you said during the show, which is about we actually are from a different era now. Our ship is sailing off into the distance. We're old, but yet, there's still value to that for some people. If you could talk to somebody that was actually around in the early days when those guitars became collectible. What was that like? What were people looking for? What did they call them? That's the history of it. Like our close buddy, I'm not going to talk about the one who shall remain nameless. I'm talking about Bonamassa, who is that old soul, who's really interested in that sort of thing, and interested in the perspective of where did the value of those humbucking-based 50s Les Pauls come from, and where is it now? What is it that gets people to really want to buy them and spend a pretty serious amount of money on them, don't you think?
Big time money. Yep. I like the conversation of why did you buy that guitar in the first place, or what would make you spend $300,000 on one?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it the sound?
Yeah.
You know, is it the flame in the top? Is it the color of the finish, the feel of the neck? What is it?
Yeah, you have to answer that question.
Yeah.
That's just
Bottom
what it
line.
is. Talking about the carve to the top and all that we saw. Interesting thing, I saw a video with Rumble Seat Music, and they had Gibson make for them 5 guitars,
Mhm.
Les Pauls, that were, hold the phone, dead on, right? Can you believe that?
I have to see them.
Yeah, well, they're looking at them right now on the screen, and the carve of the top is correct. So if Gibson's making a guitar that they're selling to you guys for X amount of thousands of dollars, and they're calling it clone, and it isn't as good as these other ones that you're doing, why are you not upset about that? I guess that's just kind of the basic premise of it. Why do you think you're not getting conned on this to a certain degree?
Well, you know, Elliot's a long time Les Paul player. And if anybody would know what that dish of the top should look like and what it should sound like, it'd be him and those type of guys that have been around and have seen the evolution of these things over the years.
Right. And they own them.
They own them, yeah.
So in those 5 guitars that Rumbleseat had made, they brought out some of their bursts that they had, and they put them up. That's the thing, is that you guys, unless you have those guitars, that's what you can't do. And that's our issue, is that you could just claim whatever you want. It says right on there it's a clone when it's not a clone. So if they were selling those guitars for a couple grand, okay, I get that. That's cool, but they're not.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably time for us to talk about that. We are coming up on 8 years of doing shows now. And this show that you're watching today will be our 49th show.
Jiminy Christmas.
Where
did the time go?
We think we know where it went, but we just can't
remember.
remember.
You look the same now that you did in the first video?
Better.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's Botox.
Right. Plastic stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I also airbrushed the video. 49 shows. So, yeah, we feel that we've come full circle. We think that we've come about to the thing where we've kind of done talking about what we wanted to talk about. We've said everything we wanted to say. We've had a lot of fun. And so we're going to do one more show after this one, the 50th show. We're going to look back, look forward, and have some fun with it. We're just closing a door here. We're not closing all the doors, but we're closing a door. And if something pops up that we're interested in doing...
So the casket lid is still open.
Yes, it's an open casket.
But we're not closing the lid on that casket yet. You know,
you can still see the corpses in there.
That's right. That's
good
good
analogy.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's it.
And the door's creaking a little bit.
Creaking, wavering.
So you can walk by and you can say, "Oh, I still see them. They're still in there."
But you said if something pops up, no.
Don't make me edit this again.
you
Don't make me
elaborate
edit.
on that?
Oh my God!
Okay.
This is the sort of stuff right here that just makes it difficult to edit this show, because it's like this all the time. If we see something that we think we want to weigh in on, we're going to do it. But we're going to kind of draw the rest of it to an end. One thing we're not going to draw to an end is going to be our website, our emails, talking to people around the world. Our Kemper thing, people have asked about the Kemper.
Right.
We're going to have our profiles ready to go. We've had a diversion of Jeremy, who actually before the virus hit, he actually had pneumonia or something. Almost like he became very, very sick. He's back.
Five-star guitar.
5-star guitar.
Flew.
We've done some profiles. And yeah, we will have that going on and available on the website. We'll talk about that in the last show. You can go to our website, which we no longer appear to be hijacked by a Viagra site.
Oh.
So that's refreshing.
Oh,
Yeah. It cost a serious amount of money to do it, and we're kind of upset with GoDaddy. Don't even get us going on those guys. But you can go to our website, thedougandspatshow.com, and you can see the 50 shows, see the merchandise we have for sale and we'll continue to sell, and see the Kemper stuff, listen to the Chasing Oscar tracks that we may add more stuff onto from there.
Yeah.
Fun show.
Yep.
Fun career.
So far,
Coffin lid's open.
coffin lid is open.
Anything else?
Just, whatever pops up.
I see. Might be a while, huh?
Well, could be.
So I'm Doug,
And I'm still Pat.
and thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye.
Time for Tales of the Old Days. What was the year that I met you? You know?
72.
Yeah, let's say 72. I remember you were doing these excursions out. You would drive out to Eastern Oregon and all these small little towns all over, and you were looking for vintage guitars, all kinds of vintage guitars to buy, and you did really well on that.
Did real well.
Yeah, you bought Stratocasters and Telecasters and just about everything. When you were out there, and you would run into a Les Paul, an old Les Paul that had humbucking pickups on it, whether it was a gold top or whether it was a sunburst finish one. What were you thinking about when you were buying those guitars? What was the important thing about the guitar that you were looking for that would add value to it?
Well, the condition of the guitar, and the color of the guitar, the color or the wood, how curly and all that. For me, it was a little bit different because I was playing at the time, so I was concerned. I seriously was concerned with the sound of the guitar too, and they didn't all sound the same, because we didn't have all kinds of pedals to make them all sound the same.
We were playing together right around there,
Yeah,
and we were
yeah.
plugging them directly into 50-watt Marshalls.
That's right. And so, you could definitely tell one that they don't all sound the same.
What sound were we going for? What sound were you looking for?
I kind of like that sound of the, remember the solo in the Dr. Hook tune?
You played it on a banjo? No, I don't remember that. Well, maybe let's change the subject. How about those Blazers, huh?
Of course, and that's one thing that we've always had in common was the Billy Gibbons tone on Brown Sugar, that first album. But there was, I was never really into the tone that Jimmy Page got. It was just me, and Jeff Beck, Dwayne Allman sounded great on a lot of stuff.
So it was specific about what type of sound we were looking for.
Exactly.
That we could nail down that it was actually an original humbucking equipped Les Paul.
Right.
And how about Clapton from Blues Breakers? That sound?
That sound.
Yeah, there weren't everybody's
Yeah.
sound, it was particular sounds. When you were looking for these Les Pauls, was it more important to you that the top have more color or less color?
Uh, Retailing them, selling them, the more color the better. The less color it was less desirable. At one time, well, I've got a picture of 5 of them on our couch,
Mm-hmm.
and they all had great color except for this one. And this one, to me, to my ear, sounded better, as good if not better than the other 5, other 4 rather. So to me, the color didn't matter that much, but I did like the curl of the wood.
Yeah, it's
as
gorgeous.
opposed to the plain top
It's gorgeous.
stuff. So
It's gorgeous. So the closer, as I recall, and you can tell me if this is right, the closer to actually having a cherry sunburst finish, which is what they called these guitars
right,
when they built them, and that's what we called them for a really long time. Cherry sunburst Les Paul.
right,
The more it had a cherry sunburst on it, the more desirable it was.
right.
In 71, 72, 73. That
Yep.
ship has also sailed, obviously.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because now they call this a lemon burst.
Yeah, they have
You
a
know,
name for
I
it. Or,
don't-
yeah.
is there a
tea
lemon?
burst or whatever
Exactly.
whatever they call it.
So
And so the sound was really important, and we could identify what the sound was.
Right. well, and also getting into doing some recording things. You know, I was using juniors.
Yeah.
At the time, and when you're doing some recording, to me, to my ear, they were mushier sounding in the mix. Where
A
these
junior?
where these had more clarity.
They did.
I love the sound of juniors,
Me
Leslie
too.
West and all that, but I also kind of like the sound of these guys too.
Yeah. Yeah. We played these on stage. There's a picture of us playing them on stage.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks for stopping by.